Yo, we
We're
got the
live.
reins in hand. 25 bips cut. Let's go.
Ride them. Ride that money printer. We got the rage. We're cooking. We're riding.
Out a tweet. It was like 𝘸𝘪𝘵, fiat is hopeless. That's how I feel.
There's so many great memes. There's AI deep fake content of Jerome Powell saying the most heinous things about your bags.
Really.
But he loves your bags because he cut interest rates, and now he's turning on the money printer. And people are there now. The debate is like, okay, well, we cut. The debate is whether this was a hawkish cut or a dovish cut.
Well, yeah, I know. That's what they were saying. They were like, I saw ICOBs put out a tweet about that. Like, you know, all that matters is what's coming in the presser, which I think is starting right now, right?
Yeah, it's 2:30. We're live. Presser is happening as we speak. Jerome Powell probably just said good afternoon.
You already know there's going to be a 𝘗𝘯𝘵𝘀𝗧𝘃 poly market for that.
For exactly what he's saying, what words he's going to drop.
If he's going to say good afternoon is
well, there is a market for it. I think it was 98% yes, he is going to say good afternoon. The last time he didn't say good afternoon, the Dow Jones dropped 800 points.
Really?
Yes.
So if I look on 𝘗𝘯 right now, there's a number of rate cuts going on, which is exactly 3 cuts for the rest of the year, is priced at 64%, which is now way higher than previously in September. And 2 cuts is at 26%, which is getting dumped. So because they cut today, this market had a big rise to 25 or to 64%. So guys, let's definitely make sure that we are watching the amount of cuts, because it's probably going to be 75 bips.
Well, there's no cut, or there's no meeting in November. So we cut today for the September meeting. There's only 2 meetings left.
Yeah.
Which means that for there to be 3 cuts, we would have to cut at the remainder of the meetings in 2025. The 2 that are remaining.
Yeah, which seems reasonably and reasonably possible and likely, I would even argue.
Especially since they didn't cut 50 today, I think it is likely, and they're just going to slowly walk this down in an attempt to try to do the soft landing for the job market and walk down these interest rates.
Yeah.
The reality is we're cutting, and inflation is higher than the target, so we have completely detached from the 2% inflation.
Yeah, we have.
That is no longer a priority for the Fed.
Not at all. I mean, they've completely just, well, I think they upped it to now like 3% or something. So, I mean, it's J Powell money go burr season. I mean,
you got money rain.
Guys, like, I mean, look, I have over the next however many years, the main thesis is going to be the devaluation of fiat. It's going to be just this consistent change of monetary properties that we have been used to, and it's going to keep happening. And so, like, when you look at the state of affairs, you look at real estate, you look at land, you look at gold, you look at Bitcoin, you look at silver, you look at metals, you look at NFTs, even in digital art, you look at Ethereum, Solana, other cryptos, you look at everything, and it's very clear that the investment thesis to have for the next 5 to 10 years is money printers going burr, buy scarce assets, hold on to them, and just kind of try to have as little cash as you can. But problem with that thesis is that everything's so inflated, and that if you have some cash, you're going to want to use that cash to buy things when assets get undervalued, when people freak out, which could easily happen in the next 6 to 9 months. If we cut a ton more, people are going to lose confidence in the economy. Powell's going to say something that is like on his way out, try to scare people. I don't know. So I'm not saying don't have cash, but I'm just saying that the thesis for the last 7 years, and really since 2001's September 11 attacks, and then since 2008, since the Iraq War, since all of this, it's always just been print the way out, and that's just going to keep happening. Now we have different wars, we have different scenarios, we've got all sorts of things. Guys, I don't mean to be a doomer, but I just want to say money printer is going to keep going burr, and my investment thesis is to invest in assets which protect me from the devaluation of global fiat currencies.
We have a great show for you today. We've got Sam from Frax. We've got our first episode of one of our new shows, Stabled Up, which is pretty ironic given Andy's long rant about inflation and why the US dollar is being inflated away. We launched a stable show to talk to you and bring you the latest and greatest in stable coins. That is super interesting because perhaps there are opportunities to get yield in order to overcome this inflationary burden. I saw just this year, inflation has lost holders of the US dollar over 10% of purchasing power. So that really puts things in perspective. If you're holding cash in a checking account or a very, very low interest bearing savings account, you lost 10% of your purchasing power. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about how bringing stablecoins on chain and bringing the entire financial system on chain is going to empower really everyone for higher yields and turn assets into productive assets, even if you don't want to hold things that might fluctuate in value. We're also going to be talking about DeSci. This is an attempt to spread our horizons. You know, we're going much more in this tokenization world, but there is really, really interesting things happening at the frontier and the convergence between AI, crypto, blockchain, unlocking some very, very exciting things. We also have an appearance from 𝘗𝗵𝗏, again, at the convergence of AI and crypto. They recently got listed on Upbit, a very popular South Korean exchange. I'll be at KBW speaking with some of the Korean market as well. I'm going to try
Hell
to
yeah, you will, Bo. We're throwing a party out there.
All the alpha from the Eastern Hemisphere, and
we got a party
to you guys.
September 24th. We're gonna push it tomorrow. If you're watching this, you'll see it. We're hosting a party with Magic, with a couple other awesome teams in Korea. Rob will be throwing it down, holding it down. The stream times will be changed a little bit, but we'll kind of get there next week. I believe we have our first guest, Paul, in the back. Paul is the CEO of 𝘱𝘁 protocol. 𝘱𝘁 is a DeSci protocol. Token's been absolutely on a tear. Paul said he has some big announcements to talk to us about, some things to address. We wanted to bring him up, get him fired up, get him ready to go. So we're going to get Paul up in a second. And yeah, I mean, he's working on this new concept of BioXP. So we're going to learn about what that is. We are looking for understanding on his incentives to different platforms, how they're thinking about rewarding community. They're kind of going viral. They're kind of trying to do different bio points farming and education and scientific discoveries in the crypto incentive loop. So that is going to be an interesting concept to watch and play out. And yeah, I mean, 𝘱𝘁's just been on a tear. Like, it launched at like 80 cents a while ago. And then if I pull it up,
it went up 6x in the month of August.
Yeah.
And it peaked, and now it's came back down just a little bit, which is to about a 3x. But it did go on an insane run during the month of August. And we're going to hear about what led to this really tremendous
who's
growth.
buying, dude? It's a real question.
There's tons of interesting things in this world. I actually think that one of the most important things that AI is going to do, along with blockchain and crypto, is going to lead to more scientific discoveries. I had a podcast with Yes No Error. These are another guy group that is building in the decentralized science space. There's some strong overlap. Today, if you guys aren't familiar with 𝘱𝘁 protocol, we're going to learn about exactly what they do, biotech's new financial layer.
Yep. Dude, you missed Jeremy and Boundless stream. It's pretty sad, man. Those are some bangers.
Some absolute bangers. I'm not sad at all because ultimately the roll-up is on an absolute tear.
Yeah. How is Basecamp, dude? Give us the... Man, we haven't heard about it. Give us the Basecamp reflection take. What happened at Basecamp? You were there for like, what, 2 days? You spent time demoing some of our new stuff. What happened at Basecamp?
Basecamp was a movie. I don't want to share too much right now. Let's just say that public companies that are soon to be listed in the S&P and starting to explore network tokens, they don't hold back. These guys went all out. It was in Stowe, Vermont. I had never been to Vermont, the maple syrup capital of the world. And it was a super well and very thoughtfully curated event. They really thought through everything. I'm talking, there was people directing you on where to go. It was really well curated. You weren't bored there, and it wasn't like there was side events galore. There was an agenda. We stuck to it. Yes, we did demo some things. Yes, we will be announcing things this very week. And we're going to be, I'm really, really excited about it because there was also this backdrop of creator capital markets. We're going to be talking more about that soon. You know,
come on, keep going. What was the vibe? Like, what did they think about Pump? You know, you were saying that people say that Zora's all right, but Pump's not. What's the vibe? What's going on? Like, what is there? What was the reaction to launching a token for streamers?
People are bullish on the creator coins, but there's no intrinsic value. Like, there's no memeability. It is just straight. It's an attention market. It's entertainment finance. I think there are token models that work better depending on what exactly you're trying to accomplish with your creator capital market. We've seen on Pump exactly what happens. There's people that have launched, they're getting mainstream adoption. We're going to start to see some really, really mainstream creators launch their creator coin, and that might happen on Pump. I've got a thesis on why they're doing that. Obviously, they're making money. But when it comes to the intention behind launching this in the long run, I think there's going to be a shift. And let's just say it was really, really great to catch up with some of the people that are leading this and pioneering this on the base ecosystem. I think the base token is actually going to be really important as a way to underpin this economy, because base is going all in on streamers, social. The new base app is integrated with Farcaster. They've got onboarding figured out. They're passing out USDC. They're getting people onboarded. The thing has hundreds of thousands of users. Coinbase has 100 million. Let's see. I think they're doing 100 million plus in revenue, and I think they've got 1 million plus in users on the centralized exchange.
Dude,
all of the, just one more thing that's important here, that all of the creator coins that are launched on Zora will be tradable on the Coinbase exchange.
Yeah, I saw that. And on all the aerodrome pairs as well.
And we will talk more. I don't want to give away too much.
But what about the token? Like, what were people saying about the token? Were they token? Like bullish, bearish? Were they saying like token's going to launch soon? Was there any chatter? Like, when is the token launching? What is the valuation people are saying? Why do they need a token? Like, what? Like, he launched a token. What did he say after that?
So he didn't launch.
What was the sentiment?
The terminology that they actually use is that they're starting to explore a token. Okay. And even if you can talk to people all the way through from Jesse to Brian, they don't know when the token's going to launch. Like, they're literally telling the truth when they say they're starting to explore it. Okay. They don't know what the governance model is. They don't know what the incentive layer is going to be. They don't know what the airdrop distribution is going to look like. But they're starting to explore what that is going to look like. But
people were bullish. People were like, yo, this is going to be epic. Like, it's going to be a huge airdrop. Or was it like, oh, was it bad vibes or good vibes? Probably good vibes.
Is no doubt that the base token will be the most valuable Ethereum rollup token.
Dude, there's also no doubt there's going to be an insane amount of complications between the Coinbase stockholders and the base airdrop and how that all plays out. We're not going to talk about that right now. We've got Paul, the CEO of Bio Protocol, on the back. We're going to bring him up, and we're going to talk about DeSci, about Bio XP, liquid science. We're going to get an update from this guy. We got Paul in the building. Paul, what's going on, man?
Hey, Andy. Hey, Robbie. Nice to be here.
Oh,
good
yeah.
to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Man, Bio's been on a tear. Man, big quarter for the boys. How are you doing?
It's been on a tear. It's been on a big comeback. I'm doing super well. Thanks for asking. I think
and he jumped straight to the day. He had no curiosity about how you were doing.
Yeah, no, just straight
to how the token was doing.
No, Paul, give us an introduction, man. Yeah.
Yeah, guys, really good to be here. A big fan of the show. My name is Paul Kohlhaas, CEO and founder at Bio, also at Molecule. Helped support Pump Science early on as well. So kind of like a lot of the foundational I think projects that have helped shape the DeSci space, which has grown a lot over the past years. Started out my career, actually, I spent a ton of time in like online biohacking forums as a teenager. So like, there's all these forums ranging from nootropics to bodybuilding. I got interested in like genetic engineering, psychedelics, like essentially like the rabbit hole that is Reddit, right? But then you have all of these like other more obscure forums. So I was just like jumping in between all of those, and then studied economics, started trading biotech stocks during my studies. Lost about a third of the money that I'd kind of like painstakingly saved as a teenager. And it taught me like a super valuable lesson, which is similar to crypto. Biotech is really rife with insider trading. Like essentially, like I was betting on these like super small companies, and you don't essentially know, you don't have a lot of information about them. And then I learned about Bitcoin in 2014. And I had a similar experience as in those online forums, because it was like our Bitcoin forum, then ETH-Trader, our Ethereum, our cryptocurrency, right? And just kind of started forming this vision of like, hey, what if science acted in a similar way? So basically, I just got rugged like trading biotech, and then discovered Bitcoin. I was like, wait, what if we traded biotech like Bitcoin? And then worked at Consensus early, joined as one of their first 100 employees in 2017, and then left 2018. And published a foundational article, which is called Token Bonding Curves for IP. Any of you viewers can look it up. And it essentially describes this like principle. What if we attached basically what Pump Fund is doing? Like, what if instead of we had Pump Fund for like essentially the same DeFi tokenomic mechanism, what if we had that for like scientific ideas, but using IP as a real world asset class, right? And doing that super hard. So I've been like cracking at this problem for like almost 6 years. DeSci, I think, has gone through like a lot of different cycles, as like many early crypto areas do. Like I don't know if you're familiar with DeFi. Kind of started in 2016 as like a term, right? You had like MakerDAO, Oasis DEX, the first DEX they built, and everyone that was building anything in DeFi basically had to build everything from scratch. You're like, oh wait, we want to do a DEX. Oh wait, we need a stable coin. Okay, for a stable coin, we need collateralization. And I think DeSci is currently kind of in that phase. And I think we're currently looking at the next foundational kind of leg up within that market. But maybe before we go too deep.
Before we go too deep, I actually really want to get your perspective on this and try to break out of the echo chamber before we get into the whole crypto economic side of what bioprotocol is doing in bioscience. Brian Johnson's going to be at Token 2049. Is like fact or fiction? Don't die. Is this just a pure marketing play, or is there actual like biological substance to this campaign? And we really have the ability to reverse age, not, age ourselves in a way that is going to prevent death in 20, 30, 50 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think rather than looking at almost like the hard facts first, it's valuable when you think about science or progress in general to look at the philosophy. Like, do you believe in progress, or do you believe that like things are inevitable, right? If you believe that things are inevitable, you're probably stuck in like the fiat system, right? And you're kind of like, oh, the government is like controls everything, and like I'm subject to that, right? If you believe in self-sovereignty, or like the sovereign individual, then you might believe in Bitcoin, right? And so I think it pays to like think first principles from a similar perspective about like science and longevity. Like, do I believe in progress? If I believe in progress, then I might want to believe that dying is inevitable if I think that dying is bad. It's kind of like believing like, is being poor bad? Depends if you like being poor and like working for like a fiat salary. If you like doing that, then it's not bad. But if you don't, then it's kind of bad, right? And so, but then to get to your like leaving philosophy aside, to get to your point, Robbie,
we also love philosophy on this show, so feel free to philosophize as much as you like.
Well, I mean, I think like the reasons why we do things is like one of the most important things as an entrepreneur, right? It's like what you work on matters much more than what like how hard you work. And so the first principle, a lot of what I do is like approach things from first principles thinking. But so let's talk about Brian Johnson. I mean, what I really like about him is that he has like a no fucks given attitude about almost the shame that comes with talking about optimizing yourself, right? I think a couple of years ago, it was still much more shameful to like, and it was almost shamed by the media to like, what you were taking some nootropic that you didn't talk with your doctor about, like you should be like, and I think we're moving outside of that into like a much more self-sovereign phase, right? Also with money, with investing. And so I think longevity and what Brian Johnson's banking on is one trend. An early number that I heard. So right, first he started doing that for himself, which I think is great. And then he was like, well, I'm generating all of this data to see if the stuff actually works. Let me share the data with people. And then a good friend of mine, actually, he's also one of the early co-founders of Bio. His name is Vincent Weiser. He's the CEO of a decentralized AI startup that we closely work with. It's called Prime Intellect, decentralized compute. And he actually suggested to Brian to like branch out into supplements, because there's a lot of people that were wanting to do the same, wanting to have the same stack as Brian did. Mm-hmm. And I think in the first 6 months or so of rolling that out, they made like 400 or 500 million in revenue. It's not an official number, but like, but Brian's stuff is actually really science-backed. And if I think about my personal spending habits, one of the biggest stuff that I spend on a month-to-month basis is like supplements. And so is there something to it, Robbie? 150%. I don't think I could be operating at the level that I'm operating at without like the 40, 50 like supplements I take every day. And so maybe where's this getting to? I think with like science and self-improvement and longevity and biotech, this is an enormous market. What Brian did super well is but it's a market that's been very opaque, right? And I think this also gets to the heart of DeSci. I think we've been taught by the media that we shouldn't take self-control, and that we're like we should go to a doctor to get some pills prescribed. And the whole supplement and self-improvement movement is like a counter to that, right? But our healthcare system doesn't actually benefit if we get super old and we don't get sick. And in the same way that the Fed and the banks don't benefit if people buy Bitcoin. And so like you can look at it from like a similar like anarchist lens. Long story short, I think Brian's stuff 150% works. I mean, on many biomarkers. So maybe to your listeners, what is a biomarker? A biomarker is almost like could be seen as like an API to some part of your body where someone can check how is that part of your body behaving, right? And on many biomarkers, he has biomarkers like a 16-year-old or like an 18-year-old. And so like, it's very hard to argue with. I don't know about the like having bonus for like 3.5 hours.
That's trippy though, man. That is so trippy that he has health markers which are tracking him that show his age is that of a teenager based on some vital signs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Paul, I was kind of like even expanding this a bit more broadly. When you're thinking about the actual implementation of DeSci, what is your time horizon for this entire idea to kind of go through the implementation phases? And maybe like, what are the implementation phases that would occur on that chronological order?
That's a great question.
Like maybe start with like where we are now, and
yeah. I wonder what Satoshi would have said if you'd asked him.
Yeah, right.
What is the implementation? Yeah. Like, what is the? But look, I think ultimately this is about impact, right, for the end user. Something that I'm really focused on, like teaching our team, and that I've just come to the conclusion is like always to think of like who's the customer, like right. And I think we kind of forget this in crypto. The customer is not some developer that is building something on your chain. The customer is like someone who gets a benefit from using it, right? And so who's the customer of DeSci? The customer of DeSci is humanity in the broadest sense. But really, we have to remember that like, and we kind of forget this, we have to remember that like scientific innovation and progress pretty much drives GDP. Like it drives everything, right? And we've outsourced the kind of the decision-making framework for science. And this was different before the First World War. Before the First World War, there was a very open scientific community globally. And then during the war, that got almost like government, like institutionalized by the government, because they were like, well, we need to keep this shit secret so we can build the best bombs and kill each other. And then they had Manhattan Project, so on and so forth. That was like a pinnacle of like scientific innovation because they got so much done in such a short time frame. But since then, governments don't, first of all, they don't operate like that anymore. Well, they still allocate funding in a very centralized way, but it's like the typical overhead from a government, you pay taxpayer dollars, right? I hope you pay taxes. Anyway, pay taxes.
What is this?
We'll cut that part. You pay taxpayer dollars, right? Roughly 80%. There's an 80% overhead, or 90%. Like, so of every dollar you pay, what actually gets to the scientist is typically like 10 cents. And the rest kind of like gets lost in this entire, like, a lot goes to like the universities, which put it into endowment funds, and and the really interesting model about DeSci is, I think we can almost do one-to-one for your dollar, right? So that's a step change. But we've outsourced it to the government. The government also runs the DMV, and so you have to imagine the same entity that is running the DMV is supposed to be there for like foundational innovation and progress of humanity.
Bruh. As a man who went to the DMV on Monday, that is just alarming.
Right, that's super alarming, right? And then also we know the government is very easily corruptible through politics, right, and through interest groups.
Yeah.
And there's this like not funny. There's this conspiracy theory about like people that try to build and invent electric cars, and a lot of them just got killed like randomly in the 80s and 90s, and like also like very little government funding into those areas until Elon Musk pulled up. But why is that? Well, because there's an oil lobby that obviously doesn't fucking want electric vehicles.
Of course.
Very simple. Sorry for swearing. But so we've outsourced this fundamental capacity, right? And science today actually operates at a global scale, right? Yet the initial, so in science, you typically, the first step is always basic research. With basic research, you don't really know what you're getting yet, right? And that's all the grants, the stuff that's getting funded at universities. Basic research is typically, and we know, for instance, that most nation states dedicate about 5 to 6% of their GDP to funding scientific research. 5 to 6% of Singapore's GDP, for instance, is less than the current Ethereum kind of proof of stake rewards. So Ethereum already, just by its proof of stake rewards, would have a higher ability to actually fund scientific research than like major nation states. Just as an interesting thought. And we know long-term that massively boosts GDP. Sorry, by the way, I studied economics, so that's like high level how I think about stuff. But so let's talk about the customer, right? So we have this basic research, and then it essentially gets snapped up by the private sector. It's also the private sector job almost to do that. That's how they've designed the system. But what it means is a pharma company, for instance, can buy research out of university and like develop that a bit further, and then sell it for hundreds of thousands and essentially price gouge the very people that like funded it, which essentially means, and it means two things. You have this enormously important system for humanity where the fundamental users and value creators have been priced out, right? You have the scientist that is kind of like just to kind of like do your job, but also like science today. So the scientists that we speak to spend about 80% of their time applying for funding and 20% getting the science. Even the area of a scientist, even the areas they work on depends on where there is funding. So like you might be a brilliant, like, I don't know, quantum physicist, right? Like absolute genius, but you're just not going to get funding. And so I don't know, you pivot to like, I don't know, ad optimization math. I don't know, like right, because there's more funding there, and Facebook is doing, and it's, so that's a massive loss, right? But further, not just that, but the system, how scientific research actually progresses, is monopolized in the sense of the current market structure decides what actually goes to market. And I'll just tell you one anecdote here. We spoke to a really promising researcher from Scripps Institute. It's a leading kind of biotech research university in the US, and she had a super promising late stage. And so in biotech, you typically have like basic science, then you have preclinical research, which can take up to 1 or 2 years. That's like basically what pump science is doing, is like anything that essentially takes a first idea or concept, gets the stuff synthesized and puts it into like in vivo, which means in vivo means in a life form, could be human cells, could be flies, could be mice, and then it goes into humans, right? And so it was late stage preclinical. She had amazing data. It was a non-addictive, novel opioid analgesic, so something that could replace obviously things like oxy, but even morphium, or what is it, methadone. right? And so imagine you went into the US market and you said, hey, we have this novel like pain medication and it can replace everything. You don't overdose anymore. And like, we can get all these addicts off the streets. Like, she would not get funding from anyone. Like, no one would touch this, right? Because the VCs that look at this, their LPs are the pharma companies, right? The VCs have to sell it to the pharma companies later. If they know that the pharma companies don't want it, it's just not going to get funded. And the only interest that she got was essentially almost from companies where she realized that they wanted to buy it to bury it. So it often happens, the way that IP works is if I have IP rights or a patent around something, I get to decide what to do with it, right? Meaning that I can patent something, a fundamental innovation for humanity, but that would still need a lot of R&D investment to like make it, right? And I can put it into a shelf and hide it. And even though it's public knowledge, I can hide it. And because the patent expires, no one has any incentive anymore to develop it later on. And so the stuff just dies, right? And that's actually why we've seen a massive decline in novel kind of medication coming to market. Because like even chemotherapy, like there could be much better alternatives than chemotherapy. Chemotherapy was developed in like 70s. And it's like, it's so harmful. Yet there's a whole industry of providers that make more money, that would kind of like lose their livelihood if something new was developed. And the fundamental reason for that is in the way that the government, again, regulates what goes onto the market and what doesn't. And so,
so when it comes to the implementation side of things, it's very hard from a government perspective and to align the incentives. And I mean, to summarize this, like, very, very poorly, the incentives are stacked up against the medical industry as from the highest level possible to effectively create better solutions. And I can tell that you've probably done quite a bit of good old psychs, because these mind thoughts really get triggered on the good old psychedelics. And it's a tough road here.
Yeah. I mean, what's massively harmful here is for the end consumer, right? For the patient or people that are just trying to get cheap access to medication or even like improve their lives, right?
Yeah.
And so like, how does the value flow look for DeSci? I think
like how does bioprotocols essentially? I think you spent a lot of time thinking about this problem, right? And I think it's something that is surfacing, especially now. Talked about self-sovereignty and that kind of philosophy. They're basically paid. This industry is paid to keep us sick. They're not paid to come up with cures. So I feel like enter bioprotocol, right?
Yeah. Let's enter the matrix. So there's two fundamental components. The one is moving IP on chain and making it self-sovereign, right? But for us, I know there's other players trying to do that in different spaces. It's an incredibly hard thing to solve. And for us, we've always believed in like doing it through like use cases. And then the other component is capital formation. So you have these two things, like IP as an asset class, and then capital formation. What can you actually do with scientific IP? You can develop products and you can bring those to market, and it's a real world asset. Either you sell it to a pharma company, then you're in the old system, right? To a pharma buyout, even for a preclinical asset, like you can sell stuff for like 700 million or up to $1 billion after like 2 or 3 years of developing it. So the upside is enormous. So we bought, like @VitaDAO bought an asset in 2021 out of Newcastle University, and this was a kind of a new molecule that activates autophagy in the human body. Autophagy is the process when healthy cells eat the old cells, kind of like fasting, go into longevity. And so these drugs mimic the effects of fasting without having to fast. And we currently now we're like 4 years into the research, and it's extremely promising. It's shown to be 2 to 3 to 5 times potentially better than rapamycin, which is the closest best thing that we have. Brian Johnson takes rapamycin. We bought that research for 250K, and then we tokenized it, meaning when we saw that there was sufficiently good data emerging around it, there's a token now, it trades as VitaFast, absolutely not a show. And also, this is public knowledge. VitaFast is in advanced discussion with a major government in the Middle East to get a fast-track clinical trial approval for this asset. They really like it because it's quite like it's non-toxic, so you could take it like a supplement. And the minimum thing is that it could extend life between 5 up to maybe 15 years. And VitaDAO owns all the IP, right? And so if you get an asset into clinical trials in the biotech world, typically that takes 30, 40 million normally. And if DeSci is able to do that for about 500K total in funding, that's an insane milestone. We have a whole range of assets like that. The thing is, then the next thing that you want to do is you want to commercialize it. And so with this particular government, we've had in-person meetings with them. And now we're the project is at the point where it's being patented, we only have to do one trial because they're like it's longevity. We don't need to do super long trials. Within one trial, we could then start offering and selling this in longevity clinics across the world, specifically for that jurisdiction. And if someone told you, hey, I took this thing, the data shows it extends lifespan by 7 to 15 years, I'd be like, hell yeah, like sign me up. So this is kind of one life cycle. Now let's get to the heart of it. Like, what is bio? We're essentially we're DeSci liquidity protocol. So we're merging DeFi and DeSci together. One of the earliest things that I realized in kind of building in DeSci is that liquidity is like a massive issue. It's very hard, and it's specifically hard in assets where you have to wait for a long time. I think the crypto market has changed massively since I entered. Like, market making is incredibly important. Liquidity provisioning is incredibly important. And so I figured let's just do it ourselves. In August, Bio Protocol generated about generated about 4 million just in LP fees from the different DAOs and ecosystems that we operate. And so maybe to kind of get to the gist of it again, we started out by launching 𝘰𝘮𝘰𝘮𝑑AO, which is kind of like the first and like the flagship DAO. 𝘰𝘮𝘰𝑑AO recently just launched 𝘬𝘭𝑑𝘠, which became a huge success, which is one of our first multi-agent systems. But we started out by building DAOs initially. These DAOs develop multiple IP assets, like a pharma company would, right? And then the IP assets can be further tokenized. If you're super interested in one asset, we further tokenize it if the data is good. And through that, the DAO actually gets back liquidity. So you create these micro markets now where traders can bet on individual data outcomes. And Bio through that, and then we launched more of the DAOs, and then we were like, well, we might as well build a liquidity protocol around it and a launchpad, as launchpads started getting really big. And we've just kind of released our V2, which also includes an XP system. Through this launchpad now, you can launch multi-agent systems that is super sophisticated. So you're kind of like automating scientific discovery. You can launch DAOs, but we've gone less on launching DAOs and instead more directly launching scientific assets, which are IPTs.
Paul, just got a couple minutes here, and just like one specific question about bio agents. You know, I'm just curious, why do you think bio agents will at all be competitive with the nearly $1 to $2 billion of funding for other AI bio stuff that's going to, you know, real San Francisco-based researchers and not, you know, what you could consider like these community token chasers? You know, it feels like you're kind of doing AI XBT a year too late here, and I'm not really sure what this really does for science. Paul, I'm going to end you on this one. You know, why do you feel like you have an edge? Sound off on.
So we have an edge because we have an extremely desperate user base, which are the scientists, right? Like, if the AXBT era might be over for like airdrop farmers, but like the science and the problems that we just talked about, which are like huge problems, those problems persist. I was at an aging conference in Copenhagen, and like people were applauding and cheering for us and like for this model. Like, funding in biotech is very dry, and in science it's super hard to get, despite all of these advances in like robotics and like Tesla's companies. Like once you have enough money, you can move things forward very quickly. To your question, the reason why we're competitive with, let's say, leading AI startups is because though they operate in a completely different fashion. They don't operate like an open scientific ecosystem. They operate like extremely closed source Web 2 companies. What our kind of agent stack really entails, it's a multi-agent system that at its core has a decentralized knowledge graph. And that knowledge graph is populated, for instance, with all of the scientific papers out of that field, right? Those papers are currently behind paywall. You can further populate these knowledge graphs with user contributions. We have a DAO launching that essentially analyze, like a multi-agent system launching that analyzes fecal matter, so poop, to like improve your microbiome. So you can now create data points in a knowledge graph around kind of all of these things. And you can also populate them with public knowledge from the community, which a Web 2 company can only do behind closed doors and can also not publish the results. And so the huge, like a Web 2 AI startup is not focused on actually furthering stuff. they're focused on like creating assets, but it's very hard to then take those to the lab. So we built that pipeline, and then they're typically not very close to the end user. And so because we have a global community of people that actually care about these causes, right? Like some of them might just be crypto traders, but increasingly the goal for us is actually to get in like those specific patient communities, the people that care. And so the big difference is you have something that is quite end user facing, but that at its core has deep scientific capabilities. We're actually plugged into some of the best Web2 AI startups. One of them is Sakana AI. Another one is Future House. I haven't seen anyone in crypto do this. Like essentially, our system has its own custom knowledge base. You can replicate that for any kind of scientific area. Then it plugs into the best scientific AI systems through API calls. And then what you get output, and then it can run an X account and it can perform on-chain actions. And so what you get outputted is like kind of a highly complex, like with this, you actually get to novel scientific discoveries that you wouldn't normally get with ChatGPT. Because ChatGPT or even Claude don't have access to the same kind of knowledge base.
Yeah.
And I'll end with this last point. Typically, when you build an agent, you design like an agent prompt and an agent character card. Mm-hmm. The way that our character cards are designed is that they're designed to mimic the exact scientist that they represent. So we could make an agent character card for Brian Johnson, all of his biases. We would train it on all of his books, all of his papers. And then we could ask that Brian Johnson agent to suggest an even better supplement stack that Brian Johnson hasn't thought of yet. And Brian Johnson might be like, wait, actually, that is pretty smart. Like I could have thought of that. And so I think that's where actually these systems can build a huge edge, specifically also because they're close to the end user.
This is awesome.
𝘗𝘳𝘧𝗏 from Bioprotocol. We're definitely going to clip that last one, see what the DeSci haters have to say, see what 𝘬𝘂𝘠𝗏 has to say. We had a great debate back in the day, several months back with Benji and some of the others. I'd love to have you on again, though, Paul. I feel like we could I just feel like I learned a lot, and this is like a tangential topic to what we usually are discussing on the show. So you're welcome back anytime, man. Appreciate it.
Andy, thanks so much for having me. Bobby,
yeah,
good to see
absolutely.
you.
𝘬𝘂𝘠𝗏 actually said that you are one of the few founders and projects in the DeSci space that is doing it the right way. So congrats. And maybe we'll get you on with 𝘬𝘂𝘠𝗏.
That means a lot. That means a lot.
Yeah, feelings are mutual, man. We'll get you on again soon.
Cheers, Paul.
Cheers, bye.
All righty, buddy. All right, guys, up next, we got Ram. Rob, what you got?
I mean, I think you summed it up really well. It's like, I also learned a lot from Paul, because this is somewhat of an adjacent topic. I think on the economic side of things, this is an example of blockchain technology making an inefficient market much more efficient. Typically, and I've seen in the math world, like you've heard of the Millennium math problems, like $1 million to solve one of 8 problems. Math doesn't really get a lot of funding.
No.
Like there's financial
academia in general is just like a crusade type of
very inefficient market.
Yeah.
And so if you can crowdsource funding for some of these markets, you're going to end up with scientific discoveries that would have otherwise gone undiscovered.
Yeah. All right, let's roll into yep.
I have two more quick points. Pair that with the self-sovereign point that he was making, and you end up with community-owned cures and science from the people that are really looking for it and end up funding it. The third point is that of the connection between creator coin markets and actually these like scientific creator coin markets.
Yeah.
If you tokenize Brian Johnson, like he was saying, you can kind of create like a supplement stack that could, compose with what he's got going on. If you have a creator coin and you tokenize the creator, you can actually end up, the missing piece is like the knowledge base that he was talking about.
Yes.
If you gave the creator coin an agent and the agent was trained on all of our pods, all of our conversations, it would have the same knowledge base that we have.
Yes. But a lot of that is behind paywalls, as he was saying.
In the scientific community, it is. But if we own the agent, then we could give it all access to all of our data. We are the one that would be gating and gatekeeping that knowledge. And so then it could actually go and create content that could be valuable.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to roll into Ram from OpenLedger. They just launched the OpenLedger token. Ram's a friend of the show. He's been on a couple times. Going to roll that into now and see you guys on that. And let's go. All right, guys, welcome back to the Rollup TV. We got Ram Kumar fresh following the Open Ledger launch of the Open token. For a quick update on AI crypto, what Open Ledger is doing, agents, some of the updates. As you guys have seen, we are rolling out a new program on every Thursday, AI Super Cycle, with our friends at 𝘗𝘳𝘃, trying to get into a lot more of the Web2 San Francisco-esque community out there, which I think Ram has had quite a bit of experience. Ram, first and foremost, thanks for being here. I know it's been a journey for you the last couple of months getting to launch. Maybe just give us a quick refresh. What happened in the last couple of weeks? How'd you guys pull this off? How you feeling? Give us the quick and dirty on reflecting on the launch.
It's been great, Annie. So it's been 2 years of work for us. When we launched Open Ledger, it was just an idea. Now it's a reality, right? We've gone mainnet, we've launched the product, we've launched our token as well. I think the token launch was pretty good. We got into pretty much every tier 1 exchanges. We've been on the road for almost last 6 months doing roadshows across Asia. Asia is where the liquidity is, right? So
yeah, it is. Korea, baby.
Been there, meeting a lot of folks, and I think there's an active community that we built in Asia as well. So feeling good about the launch. There's been a lot of launches coming in, so I'm glad that we launched at least a week back, so that we're not being in a crowded place. But cheers to everyone who's launching. Hopefully everyone gets a good launch, and the market does well.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's definitely that TGE type of season right now. And yeah, I mean, you guys launched at a pretty healthy valuation, kind of typical couple weeks post, flatten things out a bit and then see where we can go. When it comes to the product side of things, how does this launch help you with the Open Ledger product side of things? What is the current product roadmap looking like? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so while launching Open Token, right, the biggest thing for us was that we want to make sure there is actual usage for the token. So the most important aspect over here is to launch the mainnet, right? We don't want to go live without a product, without people be able to use the token. I got in this space in 2017, right? So when I got in the space because someone paid me in Bitcoin, and and there was ICOs launching and pretty much left and right, and people are like scamming and like there's no actual utility. And I was like, if one day actually I launch a product, I want to make sure that there is an actual utility and people can use it, and only then Web3 can move away from this it portrayed outside as something which is scam. It should move away, right? People, like, even if like in traditional AI space, people do not talk to you seriously if you say that I'm building the decentralized AI space, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to break that. So and we started doing that by making sure that we onboard clients, we onboard users to before we are in testnet itself. And that's what we did, right? We had close to about 20 projects building on us. We started working with larger enterprises. We work with Walmart. We work with 𝘪𝑚𝑎𝑟𝑡. So it helped build that momentum. It helped build the trust in our product. And our product was also shaping up very well. So we went ahead and made sure that, okay, if the token comes in, there's going to be utility within the product. You can use that token to build the AI models. You can pay as a fees. You can use our token as a gas fees to contribute data. You can receive open tokens as rewards if your data was used in the model. So all of these 3 important utilities we wanted to make sure that is live in the product, and it was live when we went mainnet as well. Today, if you go and take a look at openledger.xyz, you can take a look at our product. You can test the live product right now. You can contribute data. You can train an AI model. You can use open token to pay for training, and you can also get rewarded using that. So all of that is live. So that is very important for us. We want to make sure that is there. And so now the token is out, the product is out. We want to make sure that we have people start to experiment, build AI models on us. It's completely permissionless. Anyone can start using this. We will also start announcing our partnerships with further other enterprises as well. Hopefully, I'll be back in the show to talk about that. So we want to showcase to the world what can be done using a decentralized AI platform, right? And we very seriously took this point that data is pretty much been stolen away from us, right? Like if we take a look at it, whatever happened with ChatGPT and all that, it pretty much was internet data that we consume and contributed on the internet, which is taken away from us. I would estimate it close to about $500 billion, right? Let's just assume the value of data on the internet is like $1 trillion. At least 50% of that was trained to train AI models, and that's about $500 billion. That's taken away from us, and we're not rewarded for that. So, what if we could change this? What if we can build in a way where when people are building AI models, you get paid as you contribute data to it? If, let's say, Andy knows about Web3, he knows about marketing in Web3, and he is going to contribute to a model, he needs to be paid for it, right? How your YouTube gets views and you get paid for it, very similarly, the AI has to pay for it. And that was our intention. We're just starting right now, and hopefully it becomes much bigger from here. I can't hear you, Andy, sorry.
So when you were out there in San Francisco for the last couple of months, what was your experience like being more on the decentralized side of things? You said that they maybe didn't take you so seriously. Is that truly the case? What do they think about? They just think that it's so small and not important right now, or what's their perspective?
So there's this, I remember this happening, right? About a year back when I went to this Web2 event, and I think it was an event by Together AI, and I had a bunch of folks were there, and we were talking about what we were building and stuff like that. And I explained the product. There were a bunch of research guys who were writing reports about various projects, and I was telling about what you do, and they're quite excited about it, right? I was telling them we're working on data attribution and how we're trying to solve that and stuff like that, and he's quite interested. And then in the end, while I have to explain about how we're going to get rewards to people, and I was saying we're going to pay it using crypto, right? It's going to be on crypto rails, everything is going to be on chain and stuff. And he kind of like started, moving away. And he was like, he went to a point where he said, "Okay, I don't think we can talk more because I don't want to talk to crypto projects." And I was like, "Why? What's the reason?" Because I think you guys are scam. I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" But just because there are a few projects which actually did that, which happens in traditional space as well. I'm sure that we've seen all the fallouts that happened in the traditional AI space. We've seen what happened in various YC companies that was there, and various other folks that actually built products which are shit and then just fucking gifted, right? So and this guy didn't care at all, because just because you're in crypto, he went ahead and said that. So and that is one of the most triggering moments for me to make sure that, okay, we need to build a product which is actually useful, and we can showcase to the world what crypto can bring to AI. And that's what we've been taking very seriously in building. And over the last few months, I would say the crypto AI space has got better recognition after all the hype of crypto AI agent and all that is gone.
Yes,
I think we are seeing some real builders building unique stuff, real use cases that are being implemented as well. So I'm glad that all those products are going live. Some of them are friends who are building in the space. If some of them are ecosystem partners. We are glad that we could launch. We had a good launch. We got recognized by the top tier exchanges. We're glad that we work with enterprises like Walmart and Trust Wallet and many other brands. And we're glad that we're able to showcase to the world what is possible. And we are just starting now, right? The product is out. We want to make sure that people can use our product. People can use our token to be accessible. We want to showcase what can be potentially possible and learn from the mistakes if we make, and build something for a long term. So that's the ultimate goal here. Hopefully things turn out well, and market also supports us as well.
Yeah, most definitely. What are the actual interesting categories that you're seeing form post the end of last year's AI kind of agent hype, right? Where we had a lot of Twitter bots coming along. Do you have any idea what the next breakthrough is going to be for this AI crypto space that is going to capture the attention of people again? Because the agentic stuff really captured people's attention, but then it faded because of its just kind of Twitter account. Do you think that there's going to be, or do you know, or have a prediction of what that next kind of mega idea or breakthrough is going to be that could capture a lot of the crypto community's attention?
I think agent became so popular because people could relate to it. It was like, you could interact on Twitter, or it was, a chatbot that you can have conversations with. Agents are a form of how AI can be realistically interacted by a human, right? Agents will be there forever. It'll be in different shapes or form. Some people call Tesla itself to be an agent, right? Because it actually takes you from a place A to B, and then you give it direction. So what really happens beneath that is what I think is going through a change right now. Scale AI got invested close to about $14 billion. And the major reason why is because they had the AI talent, they had the data to it. I think data, I'm going to be biased, and because we are also building the space, I think data and model is the biggest narrative right now. That's the biggest need of the hour. I think a year back, there was compute, but I think we have decent amount of compute right now. There's enough compute, at least for training. So I don't think that's going to be a larger problem. I think the biggest next source of AI is going to be data, where people are going to be reaching out for skill, for data from enterprises and stuff like that, where you can enable better AI models to be built. Most of the AI models that you see today are very generic, right? You can ask questions, it'll answer you what it found on the internet, it'll answer you what it understood from the internet, but it's not going to be an expert. It's like an undergrad student, right? AI needs to become an expert. AI needs to become a specialist in a particular subject for it to be used in real world use cases. I guess that's where the world is going for. And for that, you need data. You need data from people to come forward and contribute that. And the only way people are going to do that is to you figuring out ways to incentivize them and to provide them with the platform where they can contribute, know what they're contributing, still own the data and get rewarded for it. And that's what we are trying to solve. As an open ledger, what we are trying to solve is pretty much build a trustless platform where anyone across the globe can contribute knowledge. And if their knowledge was used in an AI model, they get paid for it, they get rewarded for it. That's what we're working towards. And I recently read a study, right? AI is going to be like a $10 trillion value add by 2030, right? Like if, let's say, we even crack like 0.1% of that, that's a multi-billion dollar opportunity. So, and I'm sure that there's going to be 10 different companies which do this. We're happy to be one of them and create an impact in the space, and make sure that, there is value coming out from what we can contribute from as a Web3 company to the AI space.
Man, I think when you're thinking about this space, it's so new and has so much potential that, yesterday we all knew that compute demand was going to keep increasing. Today, you're saying that this data attribution problem and this data kind of like this adverse selection and where the data comes from or who gets access to which type of organic or inorganic or models which have been used previously or haven't. This is today's problem or today's situation, today's current idea of, kind of what could be a big solution to a problem. And then tomorrow's is something different. It's just so rapidly changing that it's hard to really catch up. And then from a personal use, when you're using like ChatGPT 5 and some of these other kind of newer models, there's agents mode now. So it's just like quickly evolving, and really just kind of, happening. And that being said, there is still a big gap in the market for these kind of AI oriented, tokens and blockchains and projects. How do you plan to fill this gap with Open Ledger as we kind of come to a wrap here? What is some of your go-to-market and some of your plan for the chain, as well as for filling this gap of people who want to get involved with AI and crypto?
So I say that, right? I got in the space because Bitcoin. I was paid in Bitcoin. The Bitcoin solved the sovereign digital money problem, right? It is one digital money that kind of solved that problem, and out of that, there are a lot of other players who try to solve it as well. And then there is Ethereum, which solved the decentralized finance problem, right? They made finance to be programmable in the form of DeFi, NFTs, and stuff like that. What we are essentially trying to solve is to make sure that data is programmable and verifiable, and people who contribute this can get rewarded for it. So basically, decentralizing intelligence is, I think, the biggest need of the hour, because our growth in the next 10, 20 years is going to be measured based on the intelligence that we get and consume. So the decentralizing this intelligence, making sure that everyone is part of this process, everyone gets rewarded as part of this process, is very important. If you take a look at it, internet was controlled by a couple of people. We all know this. That's why Web3 all came about. But at least it was a two-way street, right? You contribute something to the internet, either as a blog or a video. You get users, or you get paid as views, right? But AI is not like that. You just contribute to it because they take your internet data, but you don't get paid for it. I think that has to change, right? We need to decentralize this aspect of how AI is being built, and everyone needs to access AI, right? Everyone, a small developer sitting in Africa needs to make sure that he can access a platform, get access to data, build his own version of AI, which he can use in his community. So I think that is very important. Only then you're actually spreading intelligence as it was intended for. And for that, you need to provide this resource, data, which is like a gold mine, right? You need to provide that resource abundantly. It needs to be get access to in a most decentralized manner and at a much lower cost. And once you provide that, people can innovate new stuff. People can actually build something which is cool, and they could generate revenue, and everyone gets a piece of that. Every data contributor who contributed to that, who contributed the knowledge, gets a piece of that, and that's what we're trying to do here. We are trying to take a different approach from what has been happening in the world over the last 3-4 years, right? People always hold on to data because that's their they could go ahead and say that I own my data and I'm gonna give it to you only if you give me money, right? But we want to say that you still own your data, but if your data was useful and people had an impact with it, then you're going to get paid for it. So the money that you can make with that, the amount of value that you can create with that is much higher now. It's sort of like a SaaS platform. You can contribute data and going to continuously generate revenue for you. And these data could go ahead and be used by 10 different model developers. And you can probably get paid almost every other month from these model developers, right? The idea behind is to monetize data and decentralize the access to data. I think that's what Web3 really brings in, right? It subsidizes access to resources. It reduces the cost to getting resources because you're decentralizing it and we're expanding the access to that. And you're also making sure that you use contract rails like smart contract rails to prove that okay, you own this, and if your data was useful, you're going to pay for it. You're not going to believe in RAM, you're going to believe in the code. And also it expands this reach as well, because you're going to use crypto again to pay people. Yeah, someone in Africa can contribute data, someone sitting in US can build a model out of it, and it could be consumed by users sitting in China, right? And all of these people are going to get connected because of crypto. They're going to get paid using a token. So these three are the most important aspects that we're trying to bring to the market. So it's a start, and we already have close to about 1 million data contributors. We have 20 different projects building models on us. We have those enterprises I told you that we work with. The idea is to expand and become much more bigger from what we are today.
Ram, Kumar, congratulations on the Open Ledger token launch, blockchain, more products, etc. coming soon. Appreciate your insights on AI, crypto, this crossover, and more. It's been a busy couple of weeks for you, busy several months. We appreciate you spending some time here, and looking forward to what you guys put together next, man.
Awesome, Andy. It was nice talking to you, and I'm glad that I was able to make the cameo in the DAT discussion. So
yes, of course. And see you. Thank you for being a part of our event in Korea in Seoul next week. It should be an absolute great time. Where a lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes, DJs, desserts, branding, all sorts of fun stuff. So yeah, we're getting pretty excited on it, man.
Awesome. See you guys there, man. Bye.
Alrighty, Ram. Alrighty. Good segment there from our buddy Ram. They just had a successful launch. Up next, we'll have RJ from Aligned, CEO over there. And yeah, Rob, I mean, Open Ledger launched at like $1 billion valuation. Like we are officially back in the high FDV launch meta that was such a problem back in the day, but is now back on. Just a heads up in case you hadn't noticed that. Open Ledger launched at like $1.5 billion. Boundless ZKC launched at like $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion. Succinct launched pretty high. There's been other token launches recently. There's been so many that I don't really know what to even think. But yeah, we're definitely back in that meta. So it's happening.
For better or for worse, right? I mean, there's obviously been benefits, the project.
Well, benefits those who get the airdrop, because they get a large valuation at airdrop launch, and that allows them to have a big win. I mean, look, I'm excited about what the crypto AI sector can actually deliver going forward. We have our show with 𝘗𝘳𝘠𝗏 tomorrow, AI super cycle. I feel like that's going to be prioritized more around the Web 2 AI world. But up next, we've got RJ from Aligned. He is a Buenos Aires Argentinian native who is helping us put on an event this year. We just confirmed it in November in Buenos Aires. So we're going to talk to him about
November 8th.
Yep. We're going to talk to him about what it means to be back home with the Ethereum community in Buenos Aires, how he's thinking about that, the future of, Ethereum ZK roadmap. We have an amazing show with Justin Drake on Monday, and what's cooking at Aligned. So that'll roll into about 4 p.m., guys. And then following that, we're going to be straight into our Stabled Up episode 1 with Sam from Frax. So much to talk about in the stablecoin landscape. Stoked on that. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, there is a live chat. Throw a like, throw a subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, there's a little button in the bottom right. You can click, scroll the feed, hang out, vibe out, whatever you want to do. I learned that one from fellow streamers, myself. Yeah, we got RJ in the back. Let's get RJ up and talk about ZK, talk about Buenos Aires. RJ, welcome back to the show, friend of the show. How you doing?
Very good. Thank you guys for having me again.
Yeah,
How you guys are doing?
Of course.
Good,
well,
man.
We had
Thanks for being here.
We had to break some of the news of we are slowly putting the pieces together for an event in Argentina.
Yeah.
But even bigger than that is Ethereum coming home for you. Man, I'm just curious. So, what is Ethereum's culture, developer community coming home to Argentina mean to you? DevCon is going to be a big event. It's one of the most important events each year. We had it in Istanbul, we had it in Colombia, across the board. Now we're back in Buenos Aires in November this year. What does that mean to you, Lambda, Aligned, your friends and peers from Argentina?
Yeah, for us, it's huge. There has been a lot of excitement for a couple of years already. I think in the past it had been tried to bring it to Buenos Aires, and there was a lot of lobby from the Argentinian community in social media over the past year to try to get this done. And we're super happy that it's happening in Buenos Aires, very near to our office. And for us, it means a lot because we work for Ethereum, not only in Align building products on top of it, but also our partners at Lambda Glass. There are more than 50 developers that work for Ethereum core protocol, both in the execution client and in the consensus client. So it's a very big deal. Like many of the developers from our teams, they see many of us travel a lot, but they were never able to see the whole excitement around what they're building, working and getting close to other people who actually use their software. So I think this is going to be very special because of that. And we also want to show to the rest of the teams over the world, like, hey, these are also the people that are coding every single day to make this happen.
Yeah.
And that's very special for us. So we're really excited.
So you think like some of the Lambda and Aligned and other kind of developers within this kind of absolutely cracked developer community that you guys have built down there will be excited to see the people in the community and hear from them and talk to them and get feedback and just get that initial experience of like that first conference kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have been working a lot for the past year or even more, depending who you speak with, right? And everyone is really excited of working on Ethereum because I think one of our main advantages or something that is interesting about most of the developers that work with us is we use a lot of the tech of Ethereum. Like we use stable coins. We don't have a lot of different assets where you can save your money. And for us, it has a different meaning because you're building the technology that you're actually using and it's useful for others. So when you have that level of excitement or relationship with your building, that tool, and you see other people that care about the same thing, it's a different bonding, right? So that's pretty special for us.
Oh, yeah. And so you kind of alluded to it in terms of what people are using in Argentina right now in Buenos Aires and how they're using the Ethereum protocols. There's certainly a lot of adoption there. What can people expect for someone such as myself? I haven't been to your beautiful city or country. So can you, give me an idea of like what should I expect when I come down there? How I should essentially like come to the city and what are some of the essentials? What do I need to do before I get in there?
Yeah. So first you need to come with less weight because you're 100% going to gain weight while in Buenos Aires. Like there's no way that's not happening. You're going to eat a lot of meat, so I hope you're not vegan or vegetarian, Rob.
No, sir. I love my steak.
So that will happen for sure. And this is not very well known, but Diego from our team, he's a huge fan of gelato, and I think he's right. We have one of the best gelato in the world.
That might be a
So
spicy take, because
yeah,
yeah.
I can fight with an Italian every single day against this. They can win in pasta, but we
Okay.
are Italians that speak Spanish, and we know how to do ice cream and gelato. And we have meat. So prepare to eat a lot. And the venue luckily is in a very good spot. So I think you will enjoy the area. And for the crypto native people that want to see something maybe different, near the venue, you will see a lot of places where you can exchange USDT for pesos. I think that's an interesting thing to do. It's very simple. Most likely you will need to use Tron, not Ethereum.
Oh, okay.
But it's something that is kind of interesting because you see a different UX.
Yeah.
And then the city is super enjoyable. I think it's a great time of the year to go to Buenos Aires, and hopefully you will be able to meet in the conference a lot of developers. Buenos Aires is a very big city, and it hosts one of the biggest universities in Spanish-speaking world, with a huge engineering university. That's where a lot of our engineers come from. So I think we will see a lot of young people as well, very excited. I think that's going to be very unique.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I remember on Florida Avenue or Florida Street, there's a lot of cambio for Bitcoin, for USD, CAD, all sorts of exchange rates happening there, and exchanges happening. When it comes to actually adoption of crypto thus far in Argentina, I know you're not there now, but you've spent quite a bit of time there. What is the actual adoption of crypto in Argentina today?
So in Argentina, it's very hard to get an actual good estimate of percentages and users, because similar to in other countries, the main use of it is escaping the financial system that is broken. So most of the people that use crypto in Argentina, it has been at the very early stages, people in Argentina that escape capital controls via Bitcoin mining. That was the first wave of crypto people. That's why a lot of very big whales in Bitcoin are Argentinian. They use cheap electricity. And then the second waves were more people who wanted to use stablecoins to get money from their jobs they did abroad, and they needed a way to bring money in a cheap and effortless manner. And today, that's still something they are using, because even some things got a little more relaxed. Argentinians do not trust institutions. Usually, we have a big history of why you shouldn't trust them in Argentina, in particular. So these tools are still being used, widely adopted, and it's a second kind of market. It's not easy to do numbers or data around this when it's a market that lives outside of the main system. But it's very widely used, especially from young people that work as designers, engineers, or anything that you can do online that you can work abroad. And then you have some people that in Argentina, you don't have a lot of savings system mechanisms, or a very financial or a very robust financial system. So the ways you can invest is in the local market that is not that big, and you don't have a lot of tools. It has become very popular carry trading because of the central bank policies, but that usually doesn't have a very long time span. And then you have Bitcoin and Ethereum. Like, there are not many things you can do or access. So it's used also as a mechanism for savings.
Man, so I was down there with my dad like 3 years ago, and we were just talking about the other day, like, having the smart Argentinians saved in USD and stable coins in USDC, because we had Jeremy on yesterday, the CEO of Circle, and then he was like, the really smart ones did Bitcoin, and then the exponentially intelligent ones saved all their money in ETH. And it's just it's a funny understanding. When I was there in January, I believe, it was April of 2023, and it was about 400 to 1. And by the end of 2024, it was 1200 to 1. And it was an insane transition in terms of the amount of basically devaluation that happened in such a small period of time. So people in crypto forget that this is a lot of the situations that crypto's OG return fundamentals thesis was about. These things are unsexy. These things are not that cool. Cross-border payments, remittances, storing value. These things aren't that sexy. They're certainly not like DeSci, but they do have a really, really strong use case. So zooming into some the ZK work that Ethereum's doing and Align's doing. We had Justin Drake on the show just 2 days ago talking about Ethereum's ZK roadmap, really about a lot of the work that is going into it for privacy and for institutional adoption. And so I'm just curious from your perspective, what is your take on Ethereum's L1's progress thus far with this new administration or this new kind of regime, let's call it, within the Ethereum Foundation? Do you believe that Ethereum's progress and roadmap is trending in the right direction with regards to ZK on the L1? And how do you feel about the actual progress that's been made so far?
We're extremely excited. I think things are super positive. Of course, you can go into details and find very small differences or say, okay, I would like this to go faster, but I think things changed a lot since Justin Drake announcement of the new roadmap that was last DevCon in Thailand. I think that's one of the pivotal moments, and then we had, of course, a lot of public discussions around the new change of administration. But we are extremely excited. We're actually trying to help more in the core of the Ethereum as well, using some of our knowledge in zero knowledge, especially Mauro and Diego. And we believe we're on the right track. We are extremely bullish on everything that Ethereum is doing long term. Like in the short term, these small changes that are important of increasing the gas limit, the block count, everything is showing like, hey, we know that we need to scale the L1. But if you look at what we are going to build around Ethereum the next 5 years, I don't think there's any project in the world as ambitious as Ethereum. Like, one of the reasons why we like building on Ethereum is because we know everyone involved in it treats it as one of the most important things. And you need that in a very crazy world, and when technology is changing so fast and where things are getting extremely multipolar in a very big world. And you need things like quantum, post-quantum security. You need ZK for everything that now that the technology is way more mature. You need multi-proving. You need all of these technologies and privacy, because they know that we have a lot of responsibility. Everything is upgrading to Ethereum. Therefore, you need to be responsible for making the best infrastructure you can. And I don't think any other L1 is taking that responsibility as Ethereum. And we are super excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Justin mentioned this newfound focus on privacy, as well as just the broader snarkification of the L1. That was part of a celebration for Boundless's mainnet, which we actually talked about how the Ethereum Foundation has kind of opened arms to different ZK builders now, and hasn't been so like everything needs to happen internally from grants, but rather like, why don't we just take the technology of some of the best builders, specifically on the ZK VM side of things, and have a multi-VM setup to start, and then eventually single on one. And so that was an interesting take, was that's how Ethereum Foundation is thinking about the ZK and ZK VMs. And I thought that was a unique perspective to understand how they want to actually adopt some technology from the best builders in the space, especially, for example, folks like yourself with Lambda and Aligned.
Yeah, and I think we don't appreciate yet the amount of knowledge the ecosystem has. Like, we should be very proud that the level of technical people we have in cryptography around Ethereum, especially in zero knowledge proofs. Recently, Mauro and Diego went to a Google ZK event they hosted in San Francisco, and most of 80 or 90% of the people that knew most about the technology are people that are working around Ethereum. And Google today is deciding to use ZK more. They're using it for some of their identities protocol. And the people they consult is Justin Drake, of course, people from Starware. A lot of people that are formal cryptographers and build all of this technology may not work on Ethereum in itself, but the people who are implementing it and pushing the boundaries are on Ethereum. So the ecosystem is doing a great job on maturing a technology that is going to be widely adopted everywhere on the internet. And we should feel proud of it. Like, the big Web2 companies are going to use our technology, and they're using or changing things from other teams in order to adapt to their use cases. So I think we, as a group, right, as an ecosystem, we should be very proud of it. And it shows that we have very capable people, and we will be able to solve many of the problems that we have in our roadmap.
Yeah. This is the idea that the casino funds the research lab, because like it's crazy to think that the state of DeFi and a lot of these internet capital markets is going nuts and getting a lot of adoption, and that's generating so much revenue for these protocols, and it allows the cryptographers to do their work. Like that's how it gets funding. Earlier we were talking about scientific discoveries. It's a really inefficient market. They don't get a lot of funding.
Yeah.
ZK could have been discovered. It could have been practiced and supported for such a long time earlier, but it just didn't have the funding until we put it into a blockchain architecture. And now look, I mean, there's properties of ZK TLS that are linking these Web 2 applications together in ways that they were never able to do before. So I think it's incredible to see the adoption of ZK, and you guys are doing a great job pioneering this. I'm curious, when you guys are thinking about, obviously working with Ethereum, you're very Ethereum aligned. Your name is literally aligned. That's the name of the company. But how do you think about working with some of these other, all L1s are kind of the rage once again. How do you think about ZK contributions when they might be to maybe another L1 or a big Web 2 company like Google? Even, maybe Justin Drake is thinking about this too. Is this aligned because ultimately you're supporting this industry, you're supporting cryptography? ZK is one of the leading cryptographic primitives. Is that the ideology that is that how we should think about this, even if it happens away from Ethereum?
Yeah, I think that's the exact way we should think about it. The main reason is because there's some fragmentation that is inevitable. And what you want is some of the core technology that Ethereum is pushing can help other places, and that would also benefit Ethereum. Because in the end, if some of this fragmentation is inevitable, what you want is these blockchains to be connected. And one of the things that you can do with ZK is actually solve certain parts or make more robust the interoperability protocols, right? So I think that's important for Ethereum as well. And in the end, I truly believe the main protocol as a backbone for the next internet is Ethereum. But for many other applications, it might be other ones that already are pretty big. I don't think Solana is going anywhere. I just don't think Solana is going to be the main place globally, because we live in a very big world and you need neutrality, for example. I don't think Solana as a brand in itself is as neutral as Ethereum. And if you're running a country, you care about those things. And I think we're going to a place where countries care a lot about the infrastructure they're going to use. So if that's the case, and you have certain islands that are outside, the global economy will run on them. So you still care about the other economies being able to be interconnected with you and be as safe, because if you are going to do commerce between them, right? As if we're countries, the more robust is the other country, or the more similar rules you share, is easier for those countries to exchange value, right?
Definitely is.
So I think that's important.
I think and it's showing itself already in a smaller way through institutions and through their desire to come on chain and use Ethereum. They've also adopted multi-chain strategies, so they're certainly thinking in that way. But ultimately, I think some of the larger players have recognized the value of Ethereum's kind of credible neutral stack. Which brings me to the question of where Aligned is in development. I would love to just get a better understanding from you today of the current roadmaps and what is going on behind the scenes at Aligned. You guys have been building for quite a while, and I think you're getting ready to come out with product lines, potentially token, mainnets, etc. What is the catch us up on Aligned, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so I think last time we came here and we went to your podcast, guys, we were talking specifically about one product that is a ZK verification layer. The problem we saw in the market is ZK was getting really fast. For us, it was obvious that it was going to be the main solution for scalability and for other parts of solving crypto. So we built an infrastructure to solve the bottleneck that is actually verifying the proofs, because generating the proofs is getting extremely cheap. And we saw that there will be a multi-ZKVM world where different teams will build with different trade-offs. But after that, what we realized is we started seeing a lot of adoption on Ethereum from people that are not crypto native. And with these people, I mean businesses, private and public institutions. And they were reaching out to us because we have been here for a long time building a lot of critical infrastructure, not only for Align, but for other teams as well, especially from Lambda class. And what we notice is, okay, we believe Ethereum is going to be the main place for people to build financial systems and many other critical components of society. And people are demanding access to Ethereum. So we say, okay, how can we help them build on top of Ethereum? We have a line that we know is going to be useful for verifying a lot of proofs. But what was lacking is a stack, an L2 stack solution that can actually be launched in one click, that is designed for the best features of Ethereum, because people are demanding Ethereum. They're not demanding a particular execution environment of a rollup. What they want is the 24/7 infrastructure, they want the liquidity, and they want the security. The security gives you with a normal rollup, but the 24/7 infrastructure and the liquidity, you don't get it with the rollups that are today in the market. So we decided to build, in partnership with Lambda class, an L2 stack solution using 𝘂ERX, that is execution client built by Lambda class in Rust, in order to launch a base rollup using ZK, because we know ZK is the right technology, just from scratch, everything vertically integrated. Why? Because there was no stack in the market that can actually do that. If you take a look at most of the L2 solutions, when they onboard someone, if it's big enough, they will custom made or help them use their technology because they're huge. For example, Robinhood. If they are middle or lower tier, they send it to a rollup as a service. The problem is, if you try to use these stacks, you can have a DevOps or a CTO launch it in 15 minutes or 10. So what we're building is the stack that actually allows this, because everyone is going to demand Ethereum, and you will not be able to have a team that can scale and onboard everyone. You need a technology that helps it, and the technology is building a good stack solution that is decentralized, that is basic, that uses base sequencing for decentralization and also for interoperability. People want the billions of dollars of Ethereum. That liquidity matters, and we want to offer a product that can offer the best features of Ethereum.
Yeah, Arjun, let me ask, what does 𝘂ERX enable for you when it comes to this stack? Why do you need to use 𝘂ERX?
Yeah, so 𝘂ERX is both an execution client and also an L2.
Okay.
So the reason why we use it is first because it's designed with some core values that we believe in. Like, it's going to be minimal, it's written in Rust to be performant, and we know that a lot of code in crypto is very bloated.
Yeah.
And with a lot of technical debt. And we needed something that is designed just for the purpose of what we need. And especially knowing that certain technologies are ready.
Yeah.
𝘂ERX is designed in a way that is going to be more efficient to prove with a ZKVM. It still needs time to get to be the most performant in terms of a ZKVM proving, but we know that the only thing we need with a ZKVM is just to run an execution client in Rust. But you need to build it from scratch with that purpose.
Yeah.
And today we didn't have that in the market. Today is the second most performant execution client for Ethereum, and it's going to be on track to be the fastest one. And it's going to use it's going to be easy to launch and to integrate with every single ZKVM in the market. So we don't care which team wins in the ZKVM war. We are going to use all of them. And we need multi-prover because we are bringing clients. We had a podcast with you guys in 𝘗𝘂𝘦𝘴𝘵 with one of our clients that is Diego from Sobra. They have millions of users. They care a lot about security. I cannot use just one VM. I need to use multiple of them. So we need to think do everything from scratch.
Yeah. For anyone who missed that podcast, it was great. I mean, we were talking to someone who's a government official in Buenos Aires. I think he was the chief innovation officer, and implemented this digital identity solution. So on the ground in BA, when we're there for this conference coming up in November, will we see people using this? Is this how people are going to get into our event, prove that they're over 21? Like, what is kind of the commonplace practices with this tool? And just kind of wrap this up.
Yeah. So for DAppConnect in particular, I believe the first original protocol that he built, for Quark ID, you actually could use it when you were buying the ticket to get a discount proving that you're a citizen from the city of Buenos Aires.
And that would give them a discount on the DEF CON ticket?
Yeah, I think it was a discount or they got a free ticket. I don't remember the exact requirement, but that protocol is the first version they built, and what he's building now is a startup that is helping build the technology so multiple cities and governments can do what he did in Buenos Aires, right? And that is working already with the driver licenses, for example. So if you see someone from the city of Buenos Aires with their application, they might have credentials from the city of Buenos Aires that are using already that very first protocol.
Very cool.
And yeah.
Very, very cool. RJ, do you think that any of the Buenos Aires officials or companies, teams in Argentina, are you going to be building technology chains for them? Who is your target market for this new product?
So our target market is private and public institutions because those were the first people that reached out to us. Like they needed something like this because they couldn't find it. And yes, we're working in this case with a company from Latin America, but we're also working with European and American companies and other partners that we have that are also reaching to the governmental and public institution level because they need like an enterprise or institutional stack for Ethereum. And yes, we will love to work more in particular with Sobra to help their stack be widely used. It's already in testnet working, and hopefully we'll be able to announce bigger news around it. And then in Europe, we're working with a fintech company, for example. They're building a new protocol called Loom Finance. They used to work only with Web2 companies in like TradFi world, where they are doing revenue-based financing. And they are bringing their protocol directly to crypto using our technology and partnering with Lambda to build the whole product.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it's a very diverse set of clients.
You guys are doing, you guys are,
Very cool.
This is going to be a surprise, a sleeper winner here. So RJ, look forward to seeing you in Buenos Aires. I think you'll see Rob in Korea. Appreciate your time. Looking forward to doing that event. And, as soon as you guys get a good client and, get something confirmed, start building it out, get it launched, let's get you guys back on, bring them on, talk about this, what you guys are building, why blockchain, why aligned, etc. So look forward to having you on again, man.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you guys for always being able to give us a space to talk. So I will see you later.
Yeah, excited for the new direction. I think that you guys made the right choice. So
thank you.
All right, RJ.
Man. See you soon.
Speak soon,
bye,
buddy.
guys. Thank you.
All right, little breakaroo here before we got the Stabled Up episode 1. That was RJ from Aligned. He is ready to go and sell to institutions. They're going to be selling public permission blockchains, permissionless chains, public chains, private chains, etc. They will be launching them using on Ethereum using zkVMs with EtherX's stack based Rollup design. So definitely interesting. And we're going to roll into Stabled Up now.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. I'm stoked. There's a ton happening on stablecoins.
Of the Stabled Up show is coming right up.
Sweet.
So. Alrighty, guys. We're
going to join us in a moment.
Welcome to episode 1 of Stabled Up, presented by no other than Frax. We've got Sam in the house. Here he is. What up, man? GM.
What's up, guys? GM or GN from wherever everyone's been watching from.
Yeah, man.
Yes, sir. Sam, it looks like a new background for you. It also looks like a new background for our show because we are producing the first episode of Stabled Up. Thanks for all of your help supporting us. You've educated us and our audience about stablecoins for a very long time. And now it seems like all of that education is paying off because stablecoins are all the rage. What is your view on like this moment right now in stablecoins? And we'll get into kind of the vision for the show and all the exciting things happening.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, it's our pleasure. Obviously love the show and love it even more now that we're doing it together. And I think like we're at a really interesting economic time in the industry for stablecoins. I think you guys probably just saw the Fed announced rate cuts, right? What is this? Is this the first rate cut in like years or something, right?
Yeah,
And
it's been a while.
Yeah, with like projected 50 bips potentially, and in the next, right? So I think we're at probably the most interesting juncture where stablecoins are the hottest technology in the entire world, other than maybe AI, right? These are the two things that have the largest mindshare, and the economic winds are literally about to change, right? And it'll be interesting to know what is the main like meta. How will stablecoins compete in a lowering rate environment? And what will be the main GTM strategies that'll be really successful in the next 12 months?
Yeah, these are the important questions to ask. So as we kind of embark on this journey to really look and continue to educate ourselves as well as the audience on the path to $3 trillion in stablecoins, this has been the benchmark set by Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. There's been a lot of patterns. There's been a lot of launches, and I think we ought to get into it. We've got USDH, USAT, in addition to all the things that you guys have been making waves when it comes to FraxNet. I want to get your take on the USDH saga. We saw, I mean, Andy spoke to Jeremy yesterday. We had USDC go native. You guys put in a proposal. Native Markets ended up winning the proposal. So generally, how was the experience going through this DAO governance process? It was pretty controversial. It was great marketing for Hyperliquid. I want to get a sense of your experience, and then we'll get a sense maybe what this means for Hyperliquid and USDH.
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, yeah, obviously the Frax proposal didn't win. We were in the top 5 final running, which was great. We obviously worked really hard to put it together on the fly, which I think, excuse me, everyone did. And so I think like it was very interesting because there was 2 main takeaways for it from us. First, this is probably going to be not the last time an ecosystem asks for a public proposals for issuance of essentially a quasi-official or unofficial. I know people have said it's just like a ticker and stuff, but obviously the Schelling point around this makes it not just a ticker. You know, I have a ticker I can sell you as well, right? But it doesn't do that, right? But I think the important thing from this is the opening of like the floodgates, right? Obviously Hyperliquid was the biggest platform. I don't think there's that many bigger than it, but we're already actually talking to a few other both chains that have not yet launched for issuance. I obviously can't reveal their names, but also other platforms that aren't chains but have wide distribution. And so actually before the Hyperliquid vote even ended, there were so many that hit us up, but then 2 of them were very, very far along with, and one of them is about to be a done deal, thankfully. Nice. So I think you guys will see that. And I think from a factual perspective, this will happen a lot. Obviously, like Frax will win a bunch of them. Athena did Mega ETH, right? The Mega USD. There'll be a lot of these. And I think the most important thing to take away from this is that the issuers that are the best brands, the most reliable, that have the best infrastructure, they will be the ones that benefit from this and are able to work with large distribution ecosystems and everything. And I guess the second thing is that I'm very excited to see how Native Markets does and how the whole thing goes in terms of the plans that they have. You know, we'd love to work with them at Frax in terms of the DeFi integrations. Frax USD, like I said on the show here and also on Space, we're coming to Hyperliquid anyway. Yep. In fact, we're like building out our infrastructure to do that. So that's not going to change. We're very close to actually finishing that build out as well. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities there. I think since Native Markets was such a native team, on Hyperliquid, they had a lot of community recognition and buy-in. So I'm interested to see if there is a lot of extension of like hand to build with new teams, because like one thing about the whole saga was like, okay, the native market team knows the Hyperliquid ecosystem better than everyone else. Fine, great, fantastic. I accept that. I think everyone, Athena, Maker, Sky, Paxos, they probably would agree with that, right? But I think there's a lot of things that we know in terms of like DeFi flywheels, the ability to actually build liquidity and all this area that is very complementary. So we'd love to have that conversation and see where they think that Frax and probably others can fill out. So, but other than that, we're already doing our own issuance partnerships that I think we'll announce very soon. So we're excited about that.
Very cool, very exciting. And Sam, just kind of on the USDH note, one last thing for you, and then I really want to talk a lot about Fraxnet, what your vision is, how you guys are planning this out. There was USAT came out as well. So Tether came out and announced that they're going to have this USA token, USAT. It is their domestic US stablecoin. 𝘭𝘆𝘆𝑑𝘦𝘴 is going to be leading this charge here. I'm sure you've met Bo at some point in your run-ins in DC or in Las Vegas or wherever. And you're also, been working closely with the Stable team, which is basically a blockchain for Tether. What is the status of USAT? Why is this? Let's just start there. What is USAT? Why is it important? And then I think like the real question is like, is this thing going to eat Circle's lunch or not?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was actually in New York on the launch like last week on Friday. I was with Paulo, Bo, and the Cantor guys. There was a lot of others there that were invited. Anchorage, obviously, this is issued through Anchorage Bank. And I think this kind of basically solidifies my thinking of everyone that is like a major like player in the stablecoin space. They will have to issue a Genius compatible stablecoin, right? They will have to actually do, because the market is a $20 trillion market, and to just be entirely absent from it is not an option, right? And so I'm interested to see how the GTM is. I'll be honest that there wasn't that much in the presentation given in terms of GTM. It was basically the announcement and everything, and I think that it'll move fast. I think the first issuance when I asked Paulo and some of the Anchorage guys is like slated for sometime in November or December. Obviously, these are tentative. I'm not in any way affiliated, so but that's pretty fast, right? That is a very big turnaround if that's going to be the timeline that they hit. I think where these stable coins fall in line with each other is going to be the most important, because I was just thinking earlier today, if rates go to zero or near zero, like some insignificant amount, right? The entire underlying economics of how stablecoin issuers make money will change, right? And so how that affects GTM, the ability to share yield when there is no yield, right? Who benefits the most? Will it be Athena that benefits the most? Because assuming rates go to zero, probably there's a glorious bull market. But that's not also a given, right? You can have stagflation, right? So like the just examining all the possible scenarios, right? The worst scenario, for example, for Athena would be zero rates, but no bull market, like super stagflation. Then that would be utter disaster, right? Like the carry yield is very low, but then everyone's like, holy shit, what's going on? But then the T-bill rates are also very low. So it's like, hopefully that doesn't happen, right? But we're going through all of the different things, right? It could be the glorious super cycle, this time of stable coins, right? Low rates, all risk assets are rising. Everyone is rich. What was that New York Times article in the ICO? Everyone is getting rich and you're not, right? Like it could be that would be great. So I think everyone's stable coins will grow because the purchasing power of the dollar goes down, right? So you need more stable coin supply to actually trade against all of these risk assets that are increasing in value. So everyone will get like all-time highs or growth and get crazy P&E multiples. Or there could be some mixture of, you know, in between these things, and it's hard to know, right? And so I think the best outlook is which stablecoin issuers or projects are best positioned no matter which of these situations happen, right? Because we don't know which one of these situations will happen, right? And so, for example, with Frax USD, it's a Genius compatible stablecoin. We're building a full integrated stack with Fraxnet that has payments, that has virtual cards, that has other integrations with one-to-one mint and redeems with banks, virtual bank accounts and wires, all of this stuff that makes it extremely useful as money, regardless of what the interest rate is, right? We do have a reward program, but then we also assume that these rates go to zero, right? T-bill rates are zero, so the rewards there are like zero. We also have one of the best DeFi yield systems too, when you can stake your Frax USD in the SFRX USD Vault, earn benchmark yields, including carry trade strategies, CDPs, right? The classic benchmark stuff, right? Like MakerDAO, Frax, Athena. We have that as well if things go in that direction. Then the last thing is if it's a more infrastructure provided thing where you have to issue for partners, right, that have distribution, we're in that game and making deep progress, right? So it's mainly like, where are all of these things growing, in what categories and what verticals, and which projects are going in all of these and having success. So for example, I don't think, as far as I know, like Circle has an issuance platform, right? It is just USDC, but we know Athena does, right? They were another proposal. We know Agora does, right? They have an issuance platform, so they are also live players in that area. And we know that Tether doesn't do yield share in any way, case or form, right? So I was actually talking to Paulo about this. He was like, I would love for rates to go to zero because it would crush any competition or talking points against Tether. It would just be a total domination, right, of the field by Tether. That's that's one way to think about it. I'm not sure if I think he's right. Obviously, they would benefit in a lot of ways, right?
Yep.
But who knows, right? Like maybe it's zero rates and stagflation. Then what happens? So I think we'll have to see. We'll have to get Arthur Hayes on, right?
Oh, we will.
Definitely will.
He's
So,
talking about
Sam,
yield curve control.
Tell me, Tim, tell me how you're different from Athena's design or other yield-bearing stablecoins. Like, obviously, Superstate is a big part of the FRX USD design. What is the state of, or kind of what is the, how is Frax USD going to be different in an environment where each of these, scenarios play out?
Yeah. So my view and theory on market structure is there's basically two types of stablecoins. There's the regulated Genius, basically riskless as much as possible economically, digital dollar that is a payment method, a settlement, currency, and it is actually things that you can borrow, right? You can lend this asset, and then there's DeFi, unregulated, permissionless, yield-bearing stablecoins, things like SFRX USD or SUSDE or SUSDS, right? And these are the only two things that if you fast forward time, actually will exist. All other things will not go to zero, but their market share will drop as a function of these two types of stablecoin assets: Genius, yield-bearing, DeFi stablecoin. And lo and behold, that's what we have: Genius and yield-bearing benchmark strategies. These are the benchmark strategies for SFRX USD is our AMO system, which Frax invented, and we're famous for. When you have this underlying backing, right, you programmatically push the protocol and liquidity to the most blue chip but best yield-adjusted, risk-adjusted yield venues, right, like Aave, Euler, Fraxlend, Curve, Carry Trade, all of this stuff, right? And the thing is, there's this kind of interesting, weird middle ground where like, for example, USDS or USDE, right, where it doesn't bear yield. Obviously, there's token rewards for these, right? But it doesn't bear yield and like natively, and it's not regulated, right? Like literally legally, banks or institutions and things like credit cards, like VisaNet, like these things, they can't use it as settlement media. It's not like they don't, even if they wanted to, they can't, literally. And it bears the risk of the underlying balance sheet, right? I think these will, over time, go to not zero, but lose market share to the Genius compliant payment stablecoins. And
spicy.
But credit to Athena that the reason they have USDTB, right, and they're issuing it with Anchorage to make it Genius compliant is, I think Guy and the team, who are absolutely brilliant, they know this, or I think he would agree with certain parts of this. I think they have a slightly different strategy, but the point is they clearly see this delineation, right? And they clearly see the fact that they're the market leader in yield-bearing stablecoins. Like basically most of the TVL and DeFi, 𝘰𝘂𝘵, Pendle, Athena is like the commanding thing of yields, like kind of how Frax Curve Convex was in the DeFi,
the good old days
cycle before, right? And so what my view is that, okay, that was Curve Convex Frax last cycle, 𝘰𝘂𝘵, Pendle, Athena this cycle. What is the thing here? What is the 2026 thing here? Can Frax with SFRX USD, the yield bearing system, and then also its Genius compliant Frax USD, can we leapfrog back into being the commander of the entire infrastructure? Clearly, it's not the same thing every cycle. By the sheer fact that the DeFi cycle was Frax Curve Convex, now it's Pendle, 𝘰𝘂𝘵, Athena, and I don't think it'll be the same next cycle, you know, whether it starts early 2026 or now, right, or mid. I think that the main meta is changing, and I'm really excited to make sure that Frax is at the forefront of it this cycle.
Yeah, and it seems like Tether is prepared for this with USAT, USDT, but one is going to be Genius compliant, one won't be. You know, I suppose same with Frax. And then when you kind of zoom that out even towards the bigger problem at hand here, Sam, is I saw a tweet. It was like the new L1 fragmentation is stablecoin fragmentation.
Right.
And so I'm curious how you think about that at scale, right? So let's say, you know, obviously all these, you know, some of these stablecoins will be used for domestic use and then international use. Is that just the right way to think about how it's going to be like separated? Or how do you kind of view the actual usage of, you know, the Genius compliant and the more yield bearing versions within the US, outside the US? And then how do you kind of see that fragmentation situation happening?
Yeah, so I think there will be a short list of real money Genius compliant stablecoins. And what I mean by that is there will be a short list of stablecoins. Hopefully Frax USD is one of them. That's what we're trying to do. Where and probably it's going to be USAT given Tether's reach, but they are widely accepted as money across wide swaths of payments, services, institutions, banks like VisaNet, MasterCard's settlement network. They'll settle in these things the way they currently actually do with USDC. And then those will have one-to-one liquidity against a wide set of branded stable coins. You can think of them like Walmart USD, Starbucks USD, you know, I don't know, whatever is like the longer tail of these things, where you're not obviously going to buy something at Costco with Starbucks USD because it's not in Costco's interest, for example, as like a big wholesaler to accept that. So there's no even reason or integration or communication between these two distribution channels, really, right? And so what these branded stablecoins in the long tail will be is they're more similar to tokenized gift cards, right? They're just a new architecture. They're just a new structure, right? And so they'll be better than gift cards. They'll be composable, right? You could kind of like do stuff with them or swap between them. But what people will really hold as real money in between spending between all of these different places is the short list of Genius compliant stablecoins that are liquid, that are money that are useful in both decentralized and traditional finance. And there won't be that many of them. And those will be in the next 5 years, as you guys said, with the 3 trillion, estimate from Secretary Bessent. Those will be those few will be what the 3 trillion is mostly composed of, right? It'll be like 80% of the money, Genius compliant stablecoins, and then the rest of the 20% will be the Genius gift cards, essentially, is the way that I like to think about it. And so how each of these money-like stablecoins solves the fragmentation problem, make sure that they're one-to-one accepted everywhere. So like, for example, with Frax USD, one of the things we're focusing on right now is making sure as many of these new Visa card products, other card products, we're talking to a few issuers that I can't say today, but we're talking to all of these payment systems so that they have full usage and settlement of Frax USD. So it's as good as money, the way that USDC right now is in like Rain cards and EtherFi and Pay and all of these places. And the second part is making sure banks actually accept these shortlists, right? Banks aren't going to be like, we accept 580, right? They're not going to be of Genius compliant, like come deposit your Starbucks USD, Walmart USD, et cetera there, right? There's going to be like 5, right? And we want to make sure that we are one of those because everywhere else accepts it. And so the marginal utility of the next place that accepts it is even higher for them and for us. And then you get this network effect that's very sticky.
Right. And that Lindy effect will continue to grow as the adoption for the ones that have a seat at the table that are classified as money, like you're saying, is going to proliferate as the network effects expand. And so you're starting to kind of place your bets on both personal, but also Frax. You're an advisor to Stable. They're plugged into USDT. Obviously, Frax has its own Frax USD stablecoin product. Describe how these things work together. Given that you're kind of the Schelling point between the two, what would you say is the composability layer for Tether and Frax USD to work together? And then generally the infrastructure that is underpinning both of these stable coins, what is the composability between the two?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a few things I'm not allowed to say because of what the stable team won't let me say, but they're very bullish. They'll be announced in like
I was going to say that sounds bullish, Sam.
Yeah, pre-deposit campaigns and stuff, but I can't. I'll get in trouble with saying it. But
we'll have you back on. We'll make the announcement then. We won't give away all the alpha.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I'll come back. I think Matt, who's the CEO of Stable, he should come on. And it'll be really fun. But the actual like answer and on like a high level is there's certain things that like Tether does at size that 0 other entities in crypto do. They have 500 million users worldwide across completely different geographies. And that is just so powerful because if you think about like the onboarding problem, right? Like there's always this thing of like, oh, how do we get people to exchange their cash for whatever? It's like, okay, there's actually, if you use a blockchain that has Tether as gas, you don't need to onboard 500 million people. They're already onboarded. So like you can actually directly interact with them. And then Tether, it's in Tether's interest to promote that chain to its 500 million users of Tether across the entire world, right? LATAM, Middle East, Asia. And so the idea is that if you can have infrastructure for those 500 million and growing people, then you can build the other things like deep liquidity on this chain, DeFi, other yield-bearing stablecoin options, right? All of these things that we've always assumed is positive sum, and we've seen that the more liquidity there is between these like stable coins, the more places you can lend them, loop them, the larger the piece of the pie becomes for everyone, right? And so Tether is basically this huge onboarding like cheat code, right? And every single day, Paulo actually shared this in New York, every single day about 300,000 new Tether users is expand, like they obviously estimate it because these aren't all Sybil, right? But around 300,000 new users of Tether is onboarded across the world. That's absolutely insane, right? Like that is it's insane. I don't even know like if Binance or any, I don't think they even have that level of reach, right? And so this is like a pretty big hack, right? Like for onboarding and getting exposure to new users, especially users that genuinely are using like crypto, like stable coins, rather than looking for like airdrops or yield and these things. And so the synergy here is who's going to be leading the DeFi on stable, who's going to be doing that kind of stuff. And then all of the new people that are going to be using this chain will then have a gateway to the on-chain world in the stable ecosystem. And so we're super excited to make sure that Frax is one of the all-stars there. And hopefully in a few weeks, we can announce it in a very big manner without me getting in trouble.
Yeah, definitely, Sam. One thing that stuck out to me in the way that you're thinking about this design is, first of all, you're not trashing any competitors. You're being very real, objective, straight up, and you're building FraxNet in such a way, if I understand correctly, which I think our audience really would appreciate an explanation here as to the thinking, in such a way that you can benefit as a network, as a Frax USD, the asset, pending, some execution things. You can benefit from the growth of Tether. You can benefit from the growth of these kind of, as you said, like a Starbucks, loyalty credit type of stable coin. You can kind of be a place where a lot of these different assets coalesce and still bring a lot of value directly to FRX USD as well as the Frax network. So I think you're being very cognizant in the way that you're seeing this play out and the reality of, and when I asked Jeremy from Circle about this yesterday, his response was just that, look, man, you can use Google Chrome on Apple now. You can use Apple TV on your Samsung TV. These technologies are just going to be mishmash coexisting across all different forms of smart wallets, smart TVs, smart refrigerators, phones, iPads, computers, etc. Right? And it's going to be this very diverse ecosystem as some other technologies are. And so I think it's helpful to understand your vision that you've laid out for the types of stable coins, how you see them growing, what the next kind of idea is, as we've just discussed. So I think it's a good time to kind of understand why you feel Frax is well positioned to dominate in this world, right? So why is the FraxNet's design specifically meant for this vision that you're seeing play out, and how do you kind of view yourself and Frax kind of capitalizing on this next couple years with this design?
Yeah, for sure. So that's actually, I loved what you said, Jeremy said, and I'll weigh in on that too. So FraxNet is basically a fintech app with just one liner, and it's supposed to just replace ever needing a bank account ever again. Obviously, you can have a bank account, but what it is that you can make wires, you can spend Frax USD in Visa cards, virtual cards. You'll get virtual bank accounts for wires that people won't even know that they're sending it to your FraxNet account, right? It'll be a virtual account with a bank routing number and an account. You'll be able to mint and redeem Frax USD by all major stable coins one-to-one, like USDC, PYUSD, USDT, Stripes, USDB, right? And then more, right? And then if we issue your stable coin, your stable coin will be there too. So literally everything I'm talking about, you immediately get all of those benefits. Your stablecoin will be spendable in cards. They'll be able to, your users can sign up for virtual accounts. They'll be able to mint and burn them on 20 plus chains that we're already on, right? All of the plethora and soon Hyperliquid, as we said. And so it's a very, very powerful way of moving cash around. And like you said, abstracting it out, these are just technologies, right? You can mint it on Hyperliquid and move it to Base or to Solana, and then, or you can burn it for USDC or for Wire or this, and then or load it into a Visa card. And then there's obviously the reward streaming aspect of it, whatever the risk-free rate happens to be, whether it's 1, 4, whatever, 5. When you're doing all these things, this actually gets streamed to your Fraxtal chain, FraxNet account. So you basically get a savings account on our Fraxel chain, and then everything that you hold on all the different chains, you just get streamed the risk-free yield. So you basically get a savings account on our Fraxel chain. And so that's basically, if you think of it, it's like a super app, right? And there's obviously an SDK and API, so you can actually hook this into whatever app that you're building, whether it's on-chain or off-chain. If you want to redeem Frax USD accepted one-to-one, make sure that if you hold it in like a DAO treasury, you're getting the risk-free yield streaming or any of these things, right? And so it basically brings all of the utility that you can think about to Frax USD and any stablecoin that we do issue, right? If we do issue, like you'll be literally in the same FraxNet infrastructure. And that's obviously really needed, because otherwise this is just like, the stablecoin will be like those tokenized gift cards, right? There's only a very narrow certain sense that you can use them. And so in terms of the positive sum view that I've always evangelized and everything, I'm really happy to see actually Jeremy said it even better than me. I love the way that he said it, where you can use Apple TV streaming on your Samsung or LG TV. You can use Google Chrome on your Mac, which is what I'm currently doing right now. And that's a very good point, because like, look, the Circle is gonna launch Arc, right? And they're also on Base, right? Does that mean that Circle and Coinbase have beef? That would be absolutely crazy to think that they do. They obviously get value out of working together and increasing each other's value, market cap, and the ability for them to solve people's problems, right? And in their own ecosystem. And so I've never believed in the negative sum way if both sides agree on it, right? So like I'm not
the 3-3, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like if the other side doesn't want to do like this in positive sum, right? If they don't want to do integrations or like one-to-one redeems or whatever their infrastructure stack is, right? Like if LG bans like the Apple streaming app or something, right? If like the Apple breaks compatibility with Google Chrome, that's not positive sum, right? So it's not like it's always happy hugs and stuff like that. But until there is good integration at all times, there's always a path that maximizes value for users and both sides. And I always search for that from the very beginning. Now, what's interesting is there is going to be tussles and things.
Oh, I mean, there is for sure. I mean, Stable and Plasma do not like each other. That is a fact. Plasma thinks Stable is just like the copycat. Stable's like, we're going to do what you can do better. Like that is already going to happen.
Yeah, I'm.
You don't have to comment on that, but I'm just saying that it's going to happen. Or it is happening.
Yeah, there's a more insane backstory than whatever each of them say publicly. But I'll definitely get in trouble for that.
We're not going to talk about that, but competition's real. That's the reality, where it's a big market that we're going for. It is a blue ocean. It is a new market. It is, and the US is all in on it. So there's a lot at stake. When it's high stakes, it's competition. How do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, I think like, first of all, a lot of things in the US, like banks or entities or even startups and stuff, they actually aren't exactly sure which area they're even competing in currently, right? Like everyone's kind of trying to figure it out, so to speak, right? And there's a lot of opportunity to create like value, like issue someone stablecoin, so then they can go do what they do better than you do, right? They can go do the thing that is their strength, and they can use your infrastructure for what you're good at, right? Like the stuff that we've built for FraxNet and interconnected all these features, that's not easy to build. That's actually the reason it's taking so long is like, if someone else had that, we would just be using it ourselves, right? We would just actually be using that as like a white label solution or something, right? It's very, very difficult to build because it takes a lot of technology that's like integrated, like cross-chain messaging, banking layer, card spending layer, all of these relationships between different issuers, so you can mint and redeem between them at one-to-one, or allow people to connect their bank account and burn Frax USD for a wire backwards, etc. And so the thing is, there's so many layers to it that
Yeah.
the opportunities are basically wide open. But in the next 1 year, in the next 12 months, I think what will happen is like, as battle lines are sort of drawn a little bit, right? Like,
Yeah, of course.
like tempo versus arc versus stable or plasma or whatever. Then we'll know which area they're all competing against each other. I don't think it's very clear right now.
Interesting.
Right now, it's not like a very clear map.
Yeah, it's too general to really get a nuanced view on where each of these companies has an edge.
And none of them are launched yet, too, Rob, right? They're just all in, you
A lot
know,
of
pre-mainnet. As far as the chains go,
right? The issuers obviously are launching stablecoins left and right. What we haven't seen so much is the Walmart stablecoin, the Amazon stablecoin. And something you were talking about earlier is like, look, Fraxnet kind of removes the need for a bank. You can still have a bank if you want one. We don't need one. Well, these banks aren't just going to go quietly into the night. They're going to try to fight and compete as well. And so what's now in this new economy, what's their edge, right? Like, they didn't want some aspect of Genius to offer yield. And there was kind of going back and forth on the Genius Act. And so I'm curious, on a certain level, all these stable chains and stable coin companies are working together. And then you have, because they're all the new guard, and you have the old guard, which is all these banks. And then on another level, there's kind of the infighting that happens. This happens at DeFi at large and across several sectors in the industry. And so do you sort of, and maybe this gets into the composability, maybe you can't talk about it so much, but how do you view the competitive landscape? Is it similar or different, the one that's kind of internal to the stablecoin and the stable chain industry, and then external when you look at the traditional banking competitive landscape? How do you, are these kind of the same, or do you view them differently?
That's a good question. So, you know, what's actually would be really funny is that if this, the yield clause you brought up, like that's the thing that's like the tip of the spear for like attacking like Genius stable coins. It would be so funny if like yields went to 0, so they don't even have that as like as a way to fight them, and then they still get crushed by stable coins. I think there's a good chance that'll happen. It's like,
I think that that answers your question, Rob. There it is. Sam doesn't have to say anything else. That's it. That's the take. It's DeFi for the win.
Yeah. Well, I think that's exactly.
It also crushes. It also crushes the stable coins that are not positioned to capitalize on a low rate environment. So then you sort of have this other dimension of competition where it's companies, whether they're traditional banks or they're new neo banks in DeFi, that are positioned for a high rate environment, and the ones that are positioned for a low rate environment. They might be traditional or part of this modern era. And
yeah, well, if you think of like Genius, like fiat coins, they can't do anything with they can't massively hypothecate the underlying. So they're gonna have to find other revenue streams, right? Like mint and redeem fees, or like control the settlement, right? Whether it's their own chain or like cut deals with specific other chains or payment providers. And I think like the important thing is, if you don't have moneyness, right? Like if you literally do not have moneyness where people actually come in and out of this and use it for real economic activity, during low rates, you can't even monetize your distribution because you don't get anything from treasury bill income, right? So like it's actually it's actually good for the issuance business, like Frax or Agora or things, because we can issue. We already have the infrastructure, and even if it doesn't make a lot of money for the brand, like during the low rate environment, they have it so that they can continue to use it. And it's not a sunk cost. Like imagine if you had to actually do all of these things in R&D versus just literally letting us do it with the push of a button, right? So it actually makes issuance as like a service much more viable, because it's like you can literally outsource it to people that know what they're doing, and then figure out the right way to monetize it, because you can't monetize it with T-bills or hypothecation, right? And so I think the other question is, what is the actual macroeconomics going to be? Is it stagflation, or is it glorious super cycle? Because both banks and DeFi have very different like modus operandi of like what they do in those kind of economic times, right? Like if it's super cycle, everyone pack into like SFRAX USD or Athena SUSD and just print, right? Like the yields on those yield bearing stable coins will be like 20, 30%, or I think Athena hit like what, 38 or 9%, I think at its highest like epoch rate. Is absolutely insane, right? But what if that's not the case? What if the case is that the like economic activity slows down? I think that's actually literally what Jerome Powell was quoted as saying today, right? The economy has slowed down. That's just code, like different way of saying stagflation, right? And so if that's the case, if Athena or the SFRAX USD yield is like 3%, right? And then the treasury yield is like 1% or 0.5%. What do you do with your dollar capital? And then also what exactly are the stable coins that benefit the most in that situation? I'm interested. Well, hopefully we don't find out, because I don't want there to be stagflation. But if that happens, I'm interested to see how it pans out.
Yeah, Sam, I think I have a really kind of more question that's more on the philosophy side to wrap us here, come to a close. No rush. I don't know your schedule, but what you're saying here is describing where we're at and what feels like we're, each year passes, we get closer and closer to this like fiat experiment that the Bitcoiners will tell you was, doomed to fail from the beginning. Feels like we just get closer and closer to, this kind of experiment going wrong in some way. And I'm not going to be a doomer here, but the reason why I bring up this context is because I think it's important to understand from the highest level in the U.S. government that they are trying to prevent the stagflation scenario, deep depression, collapse, et cetera, at all costs. And by doing so, they are looking at all of their options. And in one of their, in one of their hands of cards, aces of spades, we're looking at stablecoins. And they see stablecoins as a way to extend the US dollar's regime globally, to extend the demand for the USD globally, to create the digital dollar, to fight CBDCs as well. And so when we're thinking about stablecoins right now in this macro sense, we're looking at them from a purely economics perspective. I'm curious what your take is on the more geopolitical power perspective that stablecoins are playing. Right now, it feels like a small amount, but I could really see this being a big part of the US's economic plan with regards to the deficit, with regards to, kind of just generally extending their power. Again, very broad here, but what is your take on the more geopolitical power that stablecoins have in today's world?
Yeah, I actually think about this a lot, because I try to be like way forward looking. And I think that there's a few different schools of thought, right? I think Arthur Hayes is like the yield curve control, like era is coming, because they need to, the US government needs to be able to borrow at like 0%, right? And the current payment interest on the massive debt is way too much. So they need to figure out some funny way. I love his writing with all the jokes, but like basically some funny way of like jiggling the Microsoft Excel sheet around, where like they're basically paying de facto nothing, right? On like they basically wreck bondholders, right? The other way is this, in my opinion at least, this stablecoin maximalist view, where if you actually think about who holds, like currently who holds treasuries the most in the world, they're sovereigns, right? It's like it's Japan, it's China, it's European countries. And for the first time, very large stablecoin issuers like Tether hold very large amount of treasury bills that are essentially decentralized and tokenized among all of USDT's holders, right? Like they're basically, when you hold USDT, you're basically holding treasuries without the yield, but your ability to zap them to any computer and anything in the entire world as a form of payment, right? And I think that is where they're getting their strategy, is if they can actually decentralize and distribute the holdings of treasuries, right, to pretty much everyone on Earth, their ability to borrow is much cheaper, right? Like if you actually, I think Paulo said this, or someone, I don't quote me on it, but someone said specifically, if you go around to every single country in the world and you actually ask them without any repercussion in your laws or something. Would you rather hold the dollar or the national currency of your country? I think everyone would pick the dollar. Almost everyone. I don't know. Maybe Switzerland, this currency is super strong, but everyone would pick the dollar, right? And how do you actually execute on that, right? There's the fact that if this is a true like statistic, right? Assuming it is, how do you get the dollar in every single person's hand? Because that would really, really, really help borrowing costs for the US. Obviously, it would be bad for other national currencies as they get displaced. So there's going to be pushback, right? There's going to be central banks that try to limit the amount of USD stablecoin holdings, like stablecoin capital controls. It'll be even more impossible to do those compared to even the current like analog TradFi capital controls. And so especially with like decentralization, privacy preserving transactions in some of these blockchains, right? And so it's not going to be possible to fight it, but they will fight it, the other countries. And so if the strategy is not yield curve control, or maybe it's a combination of both, but if the strategy is the stablecoin maximization of the entire world, the USD stablecoin maximization, then the treasuries become very cheap for the US to issue. And so they need to tap into that. And I think obviously the current administration believes that. I hope that whoever, whether it's this administration, another Republican or Democrat or whatever administration is, that they also realize how powerful of a strategy this is if we can do it as the United States of America. It'll actually cement US financial and geopolitical dominance for at least another 50 to 100 years, unquestionably, if it can be executed properly.
Sam, Kasman, Frax, OG DeFi, Curve Convex, Frax. We got dual wielded stable coins coming, Robbie. We've got Genius Compliant. We've got yield bearing. We've got Sam in the house with Paolo and Bo Hines, just absolutely just grinding behind the scenes to bring crypto to the mainstream. Stablecoins have done such a great job of changing the perception of our space. There's a lot of interest. This is going to be one of the best stablecoin shows, if not the best in the space. Stable Dash is interested. This is going up on their site. We're already collaborating there. They're going to push more. This is going to be a hot spot for really, really important conversations over the next 6 to 12 months as the space evolves and longer. Sam, we're stoked to have you on to kick us off. As you can see, we're still putting the nuts and bolts together, but the foundation is here. This was a great kickoff conversation, and we are really looking forward to executing on the show, being a part of this stablecoin growth with Frax, with our other investments in the space, venture and liquid. And man, I mean, what a time to be alive. First rate cut is on. We'll see how the market reacts. And there's just going to be a lot of moving parts and pieces. And no one better than yourself to navigate, predict, and see the vision here. So we appreciate your time today, Sam. It's been a 3-hour stream for me. I'm starving. Probably need to stand up, get some blood flow. So I'm going to let you go. Rob, as always, been great. And yeah, guys, thanks, man.
Thanks. Congrats on the show, guys, and see you soon.
Alrighty, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
Peace. Alrighty, Rob. What a first stream. Gets you fired up. You're on 2 hours of sleep from base camp.
It's crazy.
I'm on 3 hours of stream. That was an amazing first show for Stabled Up. I mean, this is amazing. The Polygon show was great yesterday too on payments. Money moves fast. That one's gonna keep doing well. And then tomorrow we're gonna roll out AI super cycle. So we're literally gonna just be getting some really big minds from RWA tokenization, the best of stable coins and this kind of era, and then the best of the best in AI. I mean, how can you fade this? I mean, if you're still watching this right now, we have a massive prediction markets partner announcement coming out soon as well. I mean, the boys are absolutely firing. Welcome back, Rob. Thank you for being here. I gotta go. I'm dying. So all this energy, I'm ready to fade out of here. So thank you for watching, guys. That's my closing thoughts.
We'll see you next time. Fade out.